All right, we're on record for a pretrial in this matter. I understand Mr. McFarland at least has had some time to talk with his client, so I look forward to the developments after appearances.
Lee Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem.
Nastasia Thomas, counsel for the department.
Christy Brinker, foster care worker.
Michael Brooks, I represent the father, Skylar Stage.
Michael McFarland, sorry.
I don't know that he's here. We've got the jail Zoom logged in. Is he, I think your client is supposed to be at the Hillsdale County Jail, Mr. Brooks, but.
Which county?
I thought Hillsdale. Branch. He's in Branch now. Just kidding, Branch. I'll have my assistant reach out to them to see what the issue might be there, but we've got the jail logged in, just no human. Mr. McFarland?
Michael McFarland, representing mother, Ms. McGee. Please introduce yourself for us.
Bonnie, mother.
Sorry, that broke up. Could you do that one more time?
Bonnie McGee, mother.
Thank you. All right, while we await the arrival of Mr. Brooks' client, Mr. McFarland, would you like to give us an update on what your client would like to do?
Well, Your Honor, there was an indication that she might voluntarily wish to release. That is not the case, so we wish to proceed.
Okay, very good. We've already had the prelim. Looking for, let's see.
Are you on stage?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
It looks like this. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So fourth review, permanency planning hearing, pretrial as it relates to the father. Thank you. I was getting ahead of us. All right. So let's go to your report whenever you're ready, Ms. Heiss.
Thank you, Your Honor. I visited with the children face to face. They are in licensed foster care. All of their needs are met. This is a very fortunate placement for the children. They have a caregiver home with them full time. They have another child in the hood by these caregivers who have a lot of resources to provide the children with vacations and all the normal things of childhood. So I visited them there, and the caregivers indicate that they're sleeping well, they're eating well, and that they're attending their visits. So then I have received and reviewed the investigation from our caseworker, and the recommendation is to change the goal to adoption. And I agree with that assessment. Mother is screening again positive after receiving some recovery treatment, and not consistent with her visits. And even at the visits, we're not seeing some real bonding work. So I would ask you to consider that the needs of the children are met in the current placement, and that I agree with the agency regarding the goal change. Thank you.
Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. If Ms. Bonnie McGee can please be sworn in.
Okay, before you get started, we have had one more person join us. Sir, could you give us your name, please?
Travis Days.
Thank you, welcome. We've begun just with some testimony pieces. The only thing you missed was just the guardian ad litem update.
Ms. McGee, is it okay if I refer to you as Bonnie?
Yeah.
Bonnie, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the last time we were in court was April 9th. Since that date, how would you describe, or how do you think your compliance with your case service plan has gone?
Up until like month and a half, 2 months ago, I really good, progressing really well, and just I don't know what happened. So
I'm just trying to understand. So you're saying within the last month and a half, 2 months, things have not been going very well?
no.
Could you move that phone or microphone a little closer to you, Miss McGee? I think it's kind of picking up just the middle instead of the
Is that
entire
better?
conversation. It is, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I know that the report indicates, well, first of all, have you had the chance to read the report?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Kelly Clarkson, and you all know I want to read.
Are you, was there anything that stands out that you found inaccurate?
Yes.
Okay, and what would you say was not correct?
There was two things in there that one of them said something about me leaving Monroe unsupervised, and the other was letting Shelby roam around a public place without her being supervised, which both are like, I know they're not the truth, so I want to know why they were put in a case report or even said.
Okay, and that's something maybe I can ask Miss Brinker about, okay? But it's your testimony that during that parenting time, the children were safe and you had supervised them appropriately?
Yes.
Okay. So as relates to your case service plan, I know that you had terminated your employment to go to Don Farms, and then it kind of took a while to get employment. Do you have employment today?
Yes, I'm at work as we speak.
Okay, and where are you working?
I work at Consolidated Packaging Group in Orland, Indiana.
Where?
Orland, Indiana. It's about an hour and a half from Adrian.
When did you move to Indiana?
The end or the middle of May. Maybe the end of June. I mean, the beginning of June, sorry.
And the report indicates that was with a romantic partner, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are you still in that relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have, or do you care to share why the transitional housing with Don Farms was unsuccessful for you?
It was causing more stress than it was supposed to be relieving.
And how so?
Just that's personal. I do not wish to speak about that. If that's all right.
Well, part of your case service plan is includes, which you're court ordered into, it includes maintaining your sobriety and following recommendations from any substance abuse evaluation or treatment facilities. And so
Correct.
if transitional housing was part of that, the court would want to know, and the record should reflect what happened, that it was unsuccessful.
I was assaulted. So I wanted to get away from there. So
Okay.
there's that.
Have you been able to talk about that or those conditions with the facility or with Ms. Brinker at all?
No, I haven't wanted to. I don't speak
Okay.
like that.
Did you report it to the police at all?
No, I didn't. This isn't relevant.
I didn't understand that comment. If you would like me to hear it, you'll have to repeat it.
No, ma'am. I apologize.
That's okay.
I know it's a hard thing to talk about, and so I do appreciate you letting us know what caused that. But with that, did you take any steps to continue any type of treatment to maintain your sobriety, especially after a traumatic event like that?
No, I think that's what caused me relapsing.
Okay. Are you indicating that you have relapsed since your sobriety?
Twice. Yes, ma'am.
And did Ms. Brinker go over the drug screen results with you today?
Yes, ma'am. Today.
And you are admitting that you did have a relapse that would have made you test positive on 6/18 and 6/27?
Yes, ma'am.
And the positive strains were for amphetamines and methamphetamines?
Yeah.
And if you were to be tested today, would you still be positive?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
No.
In Indiana, are you participating in any AA or NA or anything related to your substance abuse or sobriety?
I've been to a couple NA meetings, yes.
Are you currently in therapy at all?
No, I tried, but it was a conflict of interest because it the girls' father, their aunt is the only one that is a therapist where they like the first place I was trying to go. So I couldn't go there, so I'm waiting to hear back from a place called the Bowen Center in Angola. But with my work schedule being so crazy, I I literally don't know when I have time.
And have you reached out to Ms. Brinker to get assistance or just have someone to support you in finding a therapist or another treatment facility for you closer to where you're currently living?
No, ma'am, I have not.
The report indicates there's been some inconsistency with parenting time. That you've missed 11 visits this last review period, that you've also ended a few early. Do you have an explanation for those?
No. No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay, that's okay. Have you considered what that might be like for the girls when you're inconsistent with parenting time?
Confusing.
Moving forward, what are the barriers to being consistent with parenting time as scheduled?
Can you say that again? I didn't understand.
Moving forward, if you do have parenting time, what would be the barriers to being consistent with that?
So my work schedule is 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I live an hour away. Like my work is an hour and a half away from Adrian. So I get out at 4, so I'd be there by 5:30. And I guess the only barrier would be like the gas and the girls getting home so late.
And do you realize that's something that Ms. Springer can also talk about with you and
Yeah.
identifying needs that you have?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything else that you would like the court to know?
Not at this time, though.
And just for the record, when was the last time that you used?
The 26th of June.
I'm sorry, did she say this morning?
The 26th of June.
Oh,
Correct, Ms. McGee?
What was that?
Did you indicate June 26th?
Yeah.
Well, I have no further questions, but the other attorneys may, okay?
Okay.
Mr. McFarland?
You realize that part of the reason that well, the principal reason this case was opened was because of your drug issues, correct?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And you've heard that they wish to change the goal from reunification to adoption, which would mean termination of your parental rights. You understand that's what they're seeking, do you?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Now, the worker may be able to assist you if you came back to Michigan with getting into another program that's safer for your drug addiction. Do you understand that?
I don't feel as though I need another rehab. I feel as though I need a safe, consistent housing, which I got a list of phone numbers for in the beginning. None of them help.
Well, let me ask you this before the guardian ad litem does. But you went through drug rehab, you're discharged, and now you're testing positive for meth twice, and you're telling us that you don't need drug rehab. I'm here to be your attorney to help you so you don't lose your kids. Just wondering, would you give consideration to another inpatient? Because obviously whatever happened didn't work. I realize the trauma, but would you consider that?
Yeah, yes, I would.
And you realize that inpatient means you're not going to be working because you'd be focusing solely on your job, right? Or on your job of getting off of drugs and not employment. You understand that?
Yes, and that's why I said I don't need it, because I can stay sober, but I can't just make money pop out of nowhere. I have to have a job.
Okay, I'm trying to for the court to understand your logic. Okay. If you die of an overdose, you know, a job doesn't make a difference for the kids. I'm just trying to let you know where I'm going. I'm trying to let you know that they're trying to terminate your rights. I'm just letting you know what's the options that are available, okay? Have you considered coming back to Lenawee County where the agency can help you with services?
If I'm able to get, yes.
Well, rather than us have this discussion here in court.
That's all I need with, because I know I can stay.
Rather than us having this discussion here in court, would you be receptive to a family team meeting where you can sit down with the worker and you can discuss what options are available for you to return to Lenawee County to get back on track? Would you be agreeable to doing that at least?
Yeah. Yes.
Anything else that we need to add?
No, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Brooks?
Well, I am curious. Ma'am, I represent the father of your children, okay?
Yes, sir.
And I'm just curious. Did you move so far away to get away from the perpetrator of the incident you told us about? In other words, did you run away from that guy?
Pretty much.
And he's up here?
In Ann Arbor, yes.
I'm sorry, what?
Arbor.
And, okay, so you moved to Indiana. Part of your motivation, at least, was to get away from him, right?
Yes.
That's all.
Yes, nice.
How long have you been employed full-time?
Going on 3.5 weeks.
Okay, is one of your goals to bring to visits the things that children will need while you're there?
Everything they need.
Okay, that's a goal of yours. Have you been able to do that yet?
Not exactly yet, but yes.
Okay, and then
At my house.
you have the things you need?
Yes, I do. But I only missed my last visit because I was at work and I didn't see what time it was. And the confirmation time is 8 a.m. And I didn't send the text early enough.
Okay, and then does your budget allow you to keep current on diapers and wipes and those kinds of things?
Yes.
Okay,
At my last visit
go ahead.
At my last visit I attended, I didn't have diapers for Monroe because I thought I had some in the diaper bag because I buy a big pack every time I do. And I thought I had some in the diaper bag, but I didn't.
I don't have one here.
So I had some at home, but I just not in the diaper bag.
Okay, I have nothing further, thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Any recross?
No, thank you.
Okay. Your next witness, Ms. Thomas?
I'll call Mr. Skylar Stage. Hi, Mr. Stage. I just briefly wanted to see how you were doing in this last review period. I believe that you are at Branch County now.
Yes, ma'am, I'm waiting to be sent out to prison.
Okay, and do you know any details yet? I know the last time you were still waiting.
August 12th, I get sentenced, I'll ride out the 13th to the 14th to MDOC for quarantine.
Okay, and I know that at some point there were talks about you having to be extradited to Indiana. Is that still the case?
No, ma'am, I signed my extradition rights, so the time that I'm serving here, I'll be discharged from everything when I'm done with this time.
I can't understand anything. Is there any chance you can get a little closer to whatever microphone that is, or just speak up and just slow down? That might help too.
So I got extradition papers, I waived my extradition, so technically my time is being ran concurrent with the time that I'm doing now. So when I get done, I'll be discharged from any disciplinary actions that are being held for me in Steuben County, Indiana.
Okay. Okay. And have you been able to receive like the paperwork that Ms. Brinker sends to Branch County, like the court report or anything like that?
Yeah, I just got the case plan.
Do you have the means to send any communication to Ms. Brinker while you're at Branch County, or does it have to wait until you're sentenced and sent to her?
I can. I just ordered envelopes this week actually, so I can write and yeah. I was gonna continue to follow through with my my Narcotics Anonymous. My read through the book. I was gonna. You can't hear me?
I'm sorry. I can't understand what you're saying, sir. I'd like to, because it sounds like good positive updates for you. So could you try that again for us, just a little slower and a little louder?
All right, so I bought some envelopes so I can write. They'll be here when store gets here. Now, on the other hand, I have the Narcotics Anonymous book. I've been reading through that, and I was gonna fill out paperwork to send in to the case manager because it says that in the case service plan, that's something that I gotta abide by. I was attending the meetings that they have here, but my security classification doesn't allow it anymore. So now I'm just waiting to ride out so I can fully cooperate with the case plan to my best.
Do you have any indication how long sentencing is for you?
Sentencing, I'll be sentenced on August 12th.
Okay, but you have no idea if it's like 4 years or 2 or anything like that?
I've got 17 months to 10 years, but as long as I have good behavior, I'll be out in 17 months on parole.
Okay, all right. And are there any other services that you're participating in with Branch County?
Not that I'm allowed to with my security classification, but I do personally attend to my cell. I read a recovery Bible. I've been working the 12 steps. You know, I weigh a lot of my personal interest on higher power for spirituality to try to get through everything that I'm going through. And I've also done job works, which is for employment once I am re-entered into society from incarceration.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that update. And then the last thing that I wanted to ask about was if you received the DNA results for the youngest child in this case.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, and so you understand that you are considered the biological father?
Yes, ma'am, I understand that.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions, but other side, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garland,
No questions.
Mr. Brooks.
Mr. Stage, I'm your attorney, and a couple of questions I have. If I understand your testimony, you have been found guilty of some sort of crime or another. Is that correct?
I pled no contest.
I'm sorry, what?
I pled no contest.
Okay, you pled no contest, I understand. What was the charge you pled no contest to?
There was 3 of them, sir. The first one was aggravated assault with great intent bodily harm, less than murder. Count 2 was felonious assault with a dangerous weapon, and then count 3 was felony in possession of a firearm.
So you've pled no contest to 3 felonies. Have I got that right?
Yes, sir.
And you won't know when your sentencing is, or you won't know what your sentence is until the middle of August. Is that accurate?
The plea that I signed is 17 months to 10 years, so I have a general basis on what I'm going to be doing.
All right. Is there anything else you want the court to know?
I apologize for my criminal tendencies that have placed me here, but I do sincerely love my children, and I would like to provide for them. So if it's possible to hold off, if anything, to where I can possibly have a chance to prove myself to the court when I released from incarceration, because I do not feel as it's fair that since I've been locked up that I have not been able to fully put myself in front of everything and take care of it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Heiss?
Mr. Stage, in your no contest plea, there was an alleged victim. Was that a domestic partner? Who was it?
It was it's hard to explain. It wasn't a relationship, but
So it wasn't a police officer or a store owner. It was a friend.
it was somebody that I was seeing within the bedroom. We weren't in a relationship, but at the same time, we were having more benefits of them being a friend.
So a girlfriend kind of thing?
I guess so. That's what we put it as, yeah.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses?
I'll call Ms. Brinker just to get the report in. Thank you.
All right. Come on up.
Ms. Brinker, before us is a court report with some attachments. Are there any updates or modifications that need to be made to that report or the attachments that you're aware of?
Yes, as Ms. Heiss already mentioned, on page 5, just in part C, discusses Bonnie's substance-free lifestyle. I do have the printout of her 2 positive drug screens that I would like to be admitted.
Could you speak up, please?
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. Do you have copies for all the attorneys? I know that.
Yes, Ms. Heiss has hers. Mr. McFarland can have that one, and I have an extra one.
I have no objection since my client admitted to it.
Thank you.
I'll need a copy.
I was just here under me. Someone help.
That's okay.
Ms. Heiss, did you have any objection to the admission of this proposed exhibit?
No, I have received and reviewed it. I have no objection.
Mr. Brooks, same question.
No position.
Thank you. I will receive it based on the agreement of the attorneys and Mr. Brooks's position. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Brinker. Any other modifications?
Yes, the other modification is that noted on a family member had come forward regarding placement information. It was on page 3 that Ms. McGee had expressed interest in releasing her rights to potentially Mr. Stage's aunt. And she had texted me this morning and said that she was no longer interested and no longer wished to be considered.
Okay.
And that would be all the updates.
At this time, what barriers exist to reunification for the children?
Pretty much everything listed in the initial reasons for removal exist still as barriers for returning the children. Ms. McGee still does not have appropriate housing. She still is demonstrating let's go through the case service plan. She's not does not have a stable home environment. She's not participating in her services. She did complete the Dawn Farms, and then even upon release, she did not attend her aftercare at MVA here locally. So she lived locally for a month and did not attend services there. So she's been struggling and participating with her counseling and keeping up with her substance abuse. The third thing was her substance-free lifestyle, which we just heard that she tested positive and is not really participating in doing any kind of preventative maintenance, nor is she really open at this point to going back into an inpatient kind of facility. She has not participated in her domestic violence services. That was going to be wrapped in as part of her counseling services, which she has failed to engage in. The next section is parenting time consistently. Again, that's been very sporadic, has not been able to provide for the needs of the girls. There are concerns regarding her ability to supervise and her bonding with the girls. So those are the main barriers at this time.
Regarding parenting time, the report indicates, I believe, if I remember correctly, parenting time is on Saturdays? Or
that it was on Saturdays when she was up at Dawn Farms.
okay, and when is it scheduled to take place now?
Currently, it's 3 nights a week. We did increase her parenting time because she was demonstrating sobriety. And so she had asked for more time, so we had increased parenting time.
Since the increase, has there been more inconsistency?
Yes.
Your report indicates that at this time, well, let me go back. So all the barriers that you just mentioned, what services has the agency offered during this review period to help address those concerns?
So I do meet with Ms. McGee pretty regularly just because I know she's struggling to connect with services. So I try to be there if I'm not supervising the parenting visits. I try to get in the office so that I can meet with her, to touch base with her. We just met on Tuesday and we talked about, what I could do to help her I offered to help her with gas cards, to help her visits. I offered to, instead of doing visits 3 days a week, do visits 4 days a week for a shorter duration. That way the girls aren't getting home at 8:30 at night. So we have talked and discussed different options. We have talked about, the distance obviously is a huge barrier now that she has elected to move an hour and a half away. And unfortunately, most of our Lenawee County connections that she had, it's a little bit harder to find stuff in her locality. And it appears at this point that she has also decided to put her employment first. And I really have been stressing with her that I need her to put her sobriety first. And she kind of made a shift, and that's when that happened is when she started using again, it looks like, so.
That's similar to where she was, I think not maybe the last review period too, where she was really unwilling to terminate employment to go to rehab.
Right, correct. And she actually, when she came back from rehab, her employer, which I think was great for her here locally, very flexible with her and kind of let her modify her schedule, held her job for her while she was at rehab. So she was working there for about a month or so when she got out of rehab. And then she just one day told me that she wanted to quit so she could focus on going to meetings. And then I started checking with MBA, and she just was not going to meetings or doing anything to encourage her sobriety.
Today you're recommending a goal change to adoption, correct?
Correct.
Are you recommending any change to parenting time?
There's only been one incident where the older child displayed some concerning behaviors, but at this point, I am not recommending any changes to parenting time.
And so you're still comfortable with the 3 hour or 3 times a week?
Yes.
If she continues to be inconsistent, what would the plan be?
To file a termination and suspension of parenting rights.
And then as relates to Mr. Stage, we've been waiting for DNA results for quite some time, I believe. But it looks like we have those back.
Correct.
And he's indicating to be 99.999% the youngest child's biological father.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to highlight from your court report, or just inform the court on, like how the girls are doing or how placement is placement willing to provide permanency?
Sure. The placement is, as Ms. Hyde said, wonderful. Licensed foster home. They are willing to provide permanency to both of the girls. Both of the girls, Shelby has been in the home for a year now. So the girls are very bonded to them, and they're willing to provide permanency. Also, as Ms. Hyde said, that they have previously adopted another child and with similar substance abuse issues. And as the mom, she's continued the relationship with the mom post adoption. So she keeps that relationship open. So the family is very familiar with adoption and the importance of the biological family in a child's life when safe and appropriate.
Okay. Thank you. With that, I have no further questions. We move to admit the court report with the attachments.
No objections.
No objection.
I have no objection.
Thank you, they are received. Cross-examination, Mr. McFarland.
Thank you. I'm going to approach the podium so my client can see me. My presumption would be that you're unaware that my client was assaulted, since I don't see it in your report. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
Okay, and I know your perception is that she doesn't want to go to rehab or to do anything, but you did hear that she is receptive to discussing these things at a family team meeting and not a public setting like this, in a more private setting.
We have this discussion pretty much every other week. Again, I try to sit down with her just for the extra one-on-one attention and to explore all of her options.
Well, it sounds as though she might be starting to open up, and you can understand that if she was assaulted here in Ann Arbor, so close to Adrian, you can at least understand why she wants to get away from those memories, those thoughts, correct?
Miss McGee had told me that the reason she left the residential housing was because they demanded too much of her. And it was too much, that the therapy, the group settings, the individual therapy, that it was too much for her. That is the reasoning that she gave me.
It could be that she was trying to shield herself from what really happened also, correct?
Perhaps, yes.
Would you be able to provide resources here locally for her, for counseling for that if she so chose?
Yes, I feel like she had a good bond going with her therapist at MVA, so I was surprised to learn that she discontinued services with her and chose to move the hour and a half away.
Do you think that these could be reestablished if she wished to do this by Zoom or otherwise?
I don't believe, well, she's not eligible for the services if she's not living in Lenawee County.
Okay. And my understanding is it's very difficult for you here in Lenawee to try to secure in Indiana services for her, correct?
I can make the referrals, but
That's about it. So it'd be much better if she could move to Lenawee County. Is that what I'm hearing really?
correct, yes, would be
Okay.
beneficial.
If she were to re-engage in her case service plan, would she need another assessment to see? Because I know McCullough Vargas has an intensive outpatient program that would still perhaps allow her to work and maintain some independence. Do you think another assessment might be beneficial?
That would be up to McCullough Vargas, I can't speak for them,
Well,
But
would you
yes.
would you object to her getting?
not at all, no.
Okay. She wants to have a family team meeting, which would involve the guardian ad litem, herself, and you. Are you agreeable to that? I'm
Yes.
asking. Okay. What about concurrent planning, which the court would consider both adoption and or reunification based upon the revelation that she herself has gone through a trauma and is healing, and naturally take some time. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm in full agreement, as I spoke with Ms. McGee before I wrote the court report at the end of June and told her that I would be making the change of recommendation for adoption. I explained to her that it wasn't termination, that I hoped that she would continue to be working towards reunification. And again, have touched base with her more regularly to try to encourage her to re-engage in her case service plan.
Basically, if I hear you correctly, you're asking this court to consider either reunification or adoption, which would be termination of her parental rights, depending on what she does in this next reporting period. Did I hear you correctly?
Correct.
So you want her to really step up because this is her, in your opinion, her last chance to be a parent, correct?
Yes, correct.
I suppose, just for the record, part of your thinking is that in a child's life, time flies by so much faster than it does for an adult. Is that correct?
Yes,
So it's the first step for her to keep that meeting with you that she wishes to have in the guardian ad litem. Proceed.
yes,
And then you would prioritize for her and recommend what she should do with that. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
Would you agree with me that the father in this matter, given his present circumstances, has limited opportunities to improve his position relative to this case?
I do agree with that, yes.
That's all.
Ms. Heiss?
3 sets of relatives have been assessed for placement or for, and 2 were denied by the agency, correct? 2 sets.
I believe, well, everybody that has been assessed has been denied.
Didn't one person back out of the
Yes,
process today?
yes.
So, okay. And then, but you did investigate the suggestions that the parents have made. There were a lot of paternal relatives.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And there isn't any other relative identified for placement at this point.
That would be appropriate now.
Okay. And okay. when mom was, in your report, it says that mom at one point was considering a release. Do you know if she was sober or was she using during that period where she was considering a release?
I do not know.
Thank you, I have nothing further.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Any recross?
No.
Thank you for your testimony. May return to your seat. Witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. McFarland?
I recall my client, please.
She has been sworn.
Bonnie, do you understand the worker just said she's recommending kind of a two-part request, which is one, either we reunify, or two, we terminate your rights, which is adoption, based upon what you do in this next period. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I didn't hear that. It kind of cut out.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Hearing everything that was said, is there anything else you want to say as far as how you proceed forward on the case service plan?
You're not going to recognize me at the end of this.
I didn't quite hear that. Can you repeat that?
I said you're not going to be able to recognize me at the end of this.
Does that mean, tell us what that means.
That I'm going to do what I need to do to get my children back.
You heard the worker say that it's so difficult to help you in Indiana.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about moving back here where services might be more available for you?
I'm not sure at this time. I need time to think about it.
Okay. Can you maybe tell us what your thinking is, why you might not want to move back, just so the court knows?
My drug of choice is everywhere around there. The person that I hope I never see again is up there. I feel safer in Indiana.
Okay. So you'll discuss all these things at the family team meeting where we can do that, okay?
Correct.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination?
No?
No.
Thank you. Any other witnesses?
No, thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
Mr. Stage, is there anything on your mind that you want to tell the court?
All right, we'll have to have him unmute again, but he's shaking
He
his head
said no, Your Honor.
Okay.
He shook his head no.
Ms. Heiss, any witnesses?
No witnesses, thank you.
Comments?
Your Honor, just a point of clarification for the procedural process of this case. I know that Mr. Stage already is adjudicated and has case service plan for the older child. And I just didn't know how the court wants to proceed now that we have the DNA back for the younger child.
Why don't we resolve the review and then we'll tackle that
Okay.
question.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, Judge, the agency is requesting a goal change to adoption. We understand that Mr. McFarland may propose a dual goal for reunification and adoption. Judge, at this time, I believe it's been about almost a year since you've had one of these children in care. And in the last year, I believe Mom has only more recently taken sobriety more seriously to get into treatment. And even then, not maintain that. And whether, and I don't want to say that she was being untruthful, but whether she experienced trauma in the facility during her transitional housing, or she just felt it was too much. After that, there was no response. There was no, let me get back to Nicola Vargas, let me check in CMH, hey Christy, can I have some support here? Even if she didn't want to talk about it at that time. But it just to me, that demonstrates this lack of benefit from services to date. And again, like not being in therapy is also not conducive to establishing a stable lifestyle for these children who are very young. And we have one child, I believe both actually were born drug exposed, and they're going to need to have that stability from their caregivers and opportunities to develop in a safe environment And right now, neither parent can provide that. Mr. Stage is incarcerated and has been for a majority of this case, and will continue to be for anywhere from 17 months to 10 years. And for these little ones, that's a really, really long time to wait. They're essentially their entire lifetime. So for those reasons, we are asking the court to change the goal to adoption. As relates to parenting time, I know that Ms. Brinker had stated that she is fine keeping parenting time as is. I will defer to the LGL to make an opinion on that. I know that the safeguard in place is the confirmation at 8 a.m. And maybe that prevents some sort of confusing experience when children are being transported parenting time and not having it. But I don't think it resolves the issue of children being confused when they see a person or their mother once a week, every week, and then some weeks there's none at all. And so with that, I'm requesting no change at this time, but continuing to make it supervised. With that, we'd also ask just for standard 90-day review in hopes that Ms. McGee can find some stabilization, as she's the parent who has the ability to do that right now. Thank you.
Comments, Mr. McFarland?
Your Honor, when I had the worker clarify her position on the stand, whether it was dual adoption and or reunification, she testified that yes, that was. So we would ask that the court have that as the goal, not just adoption, which would be termination of parental rights. I can only imagine how painful it was for my client to testify she's been a victim of sexual abuse. I think we can all understand why the stigma that often accompanies that, why she doesn't want to say that that is a real reason for her move. I think we can understand why that triggers. I think we can understand how that would trigger a relapse. My client is willing to have a family team meeting to see what she can do. I think we also have to be sensitive to the plight of her as a victim. I think she'd be more creative and say something that wouldn't put her in such a position today if she wasn't telling the truth. I think that she was telling the truth here today. She knows what direction she has to take, so we are asking for a dual goal rather than just adoption, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
I think my client's position will be a lot easier to interpret, make decisions on after his sentencing date. And so we'll look at that again at that time, after he's been sentenced.
Ms. Heiss?
Yes, Your Honor, I think that to continue the supervised visits at the discretion of the agency, you don't want to give more than the mother can be successful at, but you want to give as much as we can to continue the bond. And the children's needs are being met in the meantime. I guess that concludes my comments today. Thank you.
Thank you. While the court finds all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's review hearing, I will note the proceedings as it relates to Skylar and the youngest child have been at pretrial stage given the request for DNA testing. The court has received those DNA test results today, indicating 99.99% probability that the youngest child is indeed Skylar Stage's child, also indicating legally that he is now recognized as legal parent. So, Mr. Brooks, I will ask you to talk with him about how he wishes to proceed moving forward, potentially after today's review hearing. So,
And the name of the child is, again,
Monroe.
you want me to do this now?
Well, Mr. Brooks, I think I'd like to have a brief bench conference before we ask you to talk with him about how you'd like to proceed. So if you would be so kind, give me just a few minutes. As it relates to the review, both parents have been subject to dispositional review hearings for several months now. Mom's initial disposition was conducted August 17th, 2023. Father's initial disposition on the first petition was October 3rd, 2023. Their case services plans have remained the same during that period of time. Up through today, the challenges have remained the same. Skylar Stage remains incarcerated. He has been incarcerated for the duration of the case. More cases continue to plague him. He is looking at a sentencing that will require a minimum of 17 months on the first case, and he awaits disposition of several other cases that will likely only increase that time. So he will clearly be unavailable to the child despite any services that he might be able to undertake for a very significant period of time moving forward. Too much time, frankly. In the name of permanency and stability, we cannot consider him for the purposes of the goal of reunification for either child really moving forward at this point, given his circumstances. As it relates to Bonnie McGee, again, she's had the same case services and challenges since August 17th, 2023. Obviously, before that, the initial removal of the first child was July 10th of 2023 in Branch County. And I'm reviewing the reports, I'm listening carefully to the testimony, and I'm also looking at the exhibits. So I hear that she wants us to sympathize with her about an alleged sexual assault, but I just cannot find that that is credible today. She has made statements completely contrary to what Ms. Brinker has reported. The initial comments that she made to Ms. Brinker about leaving was that simply that it was too much. There were too many meetings. It was too much for her to do in order to tackle her sobriety. She has made no police report alleging a sexual assault. Her move to Indiana is reported in the court report, and also, according to her own initial testimony, was to join a new romantic partner and his parents in Indiana, and did result in the discontinuing of all services. She had been involved in those rehabilitation services as well as services through McCullough Vargas. However, the McCullough Vargas reports indicate, quite frankly, that they had significant concerns about her progress even when she was engaged, and she disclosed pretty openly that she had been using alcohol on the weekends to, quote, relax, quote. I'll quote directly from the report dated May 31st, 2024. Allison, it looks like Ferguson maybe, Fulgenti, I'm sorry, the CAADC therapist. This is of some concern as she does not feel this is a problem because, quote, it is not a drug, quote. There were two diagnoses that McCullough Vargas was attempting to support Ms. McGee on. First was stimulant dependence, and the second was borderline personality disorder. Those two things indicate that there are mental health issues as well as substance abuse issues that continue to be outstanding. She has not done anything to engage in domestic violence education services to prevent that situation from reoccurring. She's disengaged in all therapy, treatment, support groups otherwise, and this court's findings been disingenuous about the reasons for that. I cannot, in good conscience, frankly, allow further report periods without changing the goal given those circumstances. The goal for both of these children will be adoption moving forward. They're safe, stable, doing well, and with her beginning to miss more and more visits, the only stressor that these two children have exhibited have to do with her missed visits. That's affecting the children negatively. Obviously, the mental health of the oldest child, who's showing some self-destructive indications based on the confusion and the inconsistency in parenting time. So I can't, again, I have to look at what is in the best interest of these two children. They need permanency, stability, they need their situation stabilized, and they need to understand that they can just focus on what they need to do moving forward. They're very young. They've been in care for a significant period of time. July 10th of 2023 for the oldest child, February 16th of 2024 for the youngest child, which may not seem like a lot, but as was argued also, these are very young children. So for the youngest child, that's the entirety of her life. And for the older child, we're coming up on half of her life. So it's time to make a decision. There will be another review period during which I will expect the department to draft and file a termination petition as it relates to both children. And I'll look to these two parents to decide what they want to do in the meantime. I will obviously look at any additional progress that Bonnie McGee makes in the next report period. But from where I'm sitting right now, I have to do what's in the best interest of these children, and that means a goal change. Unless there's any questions, that's all for the review. We'll ask the jail to leave Mr. Schuyler's stage on for a bit so that you can talk with Mr. Brooks after we've had just a brief bench conference. Unless there's any questions, that's all for today, and we'll do our next review in October. I would offer to you Tuesday, October 8th at 9.
9?
Yes. And that will, of course, be a review permanency planning hearing, and if the termination petition is filed and served timely, we will also allow time for that to be heard on October 8th at 9.